Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where today we're going to be taking both of these two to head over to Dove Customs. Now of course we've got the two fairly practical cars, both all-wheel drive and in fact both running also on winter tyres now, ready and set for the bad weather ahead. But what we're going to be doing firstly is to do with the Heritage RS. Now this is a limited edition car, there are only 50 of them in total, but since day one there's something I've been talking about that I'd quite like to change on it. We've been doing a bit of things behind the scenes, the parts have arrived over at Dove Customs. Today we're going to be checking them out and starting that off. You will see what I mean later on. Then we're also taking the Lusso, of course, to get back home from Dove Customs today. The Heritage is going to be staying, but also because we're going to be picking something up. The second thing is to collect my Christmas present from my girlfriend that Dove have been working on to modify, which of course I don't actually know what that is, but we will be picking it up later on in the Lusso to bring the car back home, to bring that back home as well. So let me tell you a little bit more about what's going on. Then we'll hop on the road. I'm not sure yet which car I'm going to be driving. We'll get over to Dove Customs and see how things are going to go. I guess we've got a bit of a Ford versus Ferrari moment going on at the moment. The Ferrari key in bright red, the Heritage RS with its cover to match. But let me just show you quickly, of course, we've just got this car back home from having fitted the new wheels with the winter tyres. And something quite funny, actually, and unusual about the winter wheels and tyre combinations that I have on both cars is that those aren't the wheels that came with the Lusso, and those aren't the wheels that came with the Heritage, but in both cases, they're the same as the wheels that I actually have as standard. In here, a slightly different paint colour fitted with the Michelin Pilot Alpine tyres. We've got the Nokian WRD4s on the Heritage, but basically the standard 18 inches, the standard 19s up front and 20s at the back on the Lusso, and the two cars that have, well, I guess quite different takes on four-wheel drive to the traditional setups, given that the Lusso is only four-wheel drive at low kind of speeds and in the up to 5th gear, I think, and the Heritage RS is of course the system that has the drift mode to the back, which is really, really fun and very playful. But the thing that we're going to be doing with this car that I haven't actually mentioned yet is to do with what we have down here, to do with the brake calipers. So these are the Brembo calipers, and I apologise that it's quite dark down here. Let me turn on a light. Basically, the Heritage RS comes with these satin silver unpainted calipers. That's why they're silver. They're not painted and they don't look particularly premium. And ever since day one, I've been talking about how I would like to change those to have some painted ones, painted in body colour. Now, a former owner of a Heritage RS who's just sold his car actually had some made so that he could keep the originals. I have bought those off him, so I'm going to be putting on a second set of brake calipers, which of course needs the brakes to be bled, and it takes a little bit of time, so we're not going to be waiting for that to be done. But basically they will then go bright orange, which I think is going to look awesome against the satin black wheels, but I can always change it back to factory stock if I want to. Remember, we did do one modification to this before. We actually gave it a satin black roof. Normally it would have a painted orange roof, but I thought that looked really good and blended in very well with the satin black that you have for the spoiler at the very end. So small changes, small little details here and there, and there is actually one quite funny thing to do with that shark fin. I will talk about that later on when we arrive. So like I say, I don't know exactly which car I'm going to be driving, but let's get them opened up, let's get them started up, and let's head out on the roads. The Lusso it is then, so let's get this started up. Always, it's going to thunder into life. Yes, there we go. Right, sounds epic. So we've got, well, it's about 40-50 miles out of central London to get to Dove Customs. We'll get this straight out. We've got the lift system button just here to lift the car up to get it out of the garage. I'm not necessarily sure you need to use it, but I tend to do so just in case. It makes life that touch easier. Into gear then, it will run the cold start sequence just for a moment, but we will go straight on out. That beep to confirm the lift is up. It raises all four corners, actually makes it look like a bit of an off-roader, but yeah, off we go. We are of course right around the time of year of the shortest days, which means we are not going to have daylight for long, and in fact if the traffic is bad it might even be dark before we actually arrive at Dove Customs, and as always it's a bit wet and greasy out, so I'm basically having a chill right now. We're in comfort mode, which means the slightly softer suspension. If you're in sport mode you can put it down into bumpy road, but in comfort it is basically soft. I could actually pop it into wet, which I think softens it even more. I've been told that by another owner, so I'm not sure if that's entirely correct, but basically this is a chilled out drive with that gentle V12 noise behind, and in fact I've got the bright orange Heritage RS in my rear view mirror. It would definitely be brighter if the sun was out a little bit more, which my girlfriend is driving at the moment. We'll come back together in this car. In fact, I might even make her drive it later on and just chill in the passenger seat for the cruise back in towards London. But hopefully it's not going to be too bad a drive. This is always one of those hugely variable ones when you drive out of London. You never know how good or bad the traffic is going to be, despite what Waze or Google Maps or anything else might tell you. You just have to kind of wait and see. We'll need a fuel stop, I think, along the way for the Heritage RS as well. But basically, just cruising, heading over towards Dub Customs. It'd be good to catch up with the guys, say Merry Christmas, and yeah, see what's going on. It's tunnel time! That means let's drop some gears. In fact, let's put the window down slightly. Keep dropping the gears. This car sounds so insane! And the beauty of the Ferrari is pull both paddles into neutral. Ah, fun times, fun times. Anyway, I think they might have quite enjoyed that as well. Well, it is definitely getting towards that darker time of day. We're about to arrive. I'm going to go back into sport and manual because this is a fun little roundabout where you come out of a very tight roundabout and then you're immediately in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. Which means, of course, in a car like this, you can literally get the wheels pointed straight, drop it to first gear, and then do that. This thing is ridiculous, and I tell you, it's got a lot of traction. Shout out to winter tyres on the Lusso, because even though the ground is slightly damp and slightly greasy, no slip, nothing, which I can promise you on the normal summer or all-year tyres, you definitely have a little bit. It does make a difference. Today is chilly, but not obviously snow or anything like that. Anyway, we're not too far away. Heritage RS is back behind me again now. We have arrived here then with both of the cars at Dub Customs, where it's been a while since I came to catch up with the guys. It's that time of day though, the sun has just gone down, it's very much blue hour before it gets dark. So let me show you quickly the thing that I mentioned earlier that is extraordinarily strange about the Heritage RS. Now when I brought out the car, I think just over a year ago, we did a few small details to it. So of course, like I said, we installed the satin black roof. Normally the roof would be the Tief Orange, the same colour as the paintwork. We also installed this, the Sharkfin antenna. Now take a look at what has happened here. We think that it has been nibbled by an animal climbing on the roof. This actually happened, well, probably in the early part of this year. Not quite sure when, where or how, but it's quite easy to replace because this is a shark fin that is actually wrapped in the same colour as the roof that is stuck over the normal antenna. So normally you'd have the antenna with the aerial coming up out of it. This looks much tidier, but that's not ideal. So that's going to be replaced. The new one will go on, wrapped in the same colour as this. That is particularly weird. So also, of course, we're going to be changing the brake calipers, just as a quick reminder so that you can see them out here, what the standard ones look like. That unfinished silver, obviously a little bit dirty now. And as I mentioned, those aren't the wheels that came on the car, despite being the same as the ones that did. These fitted with the winter tyres are actually the ones from my red RS, which of course is running the BBS's, the BBS CIR wheels with Sport Cup 2 tyres. So let me come through though, because inside we have the new calipers to show you, and they are looking very nice. Of course, painted in the same colour as the car, the Tief Orange paintwork, the Brembo brake calipers. They need to be bled though and completely set up. But inside here, in the reception, we have the various new parts all wrapped up by the one I've just opened to take a look at. Very, very nice with the Brembo lettering, the logos, original parts, direct replacement parts. These ones were then painted, which means my original ones will stay completely original with the car, something very important when it's a limited edition car like this. And of course this from Paintmodz is the new Sharkfin antenna. You can see how that kind of extends the signal inside, unpainted, because of course we knew we would vinyl wrap it to put it onto the car. So big shout out to them, thank you to them for replacing that. These I bought, which are going to be the replacement calipers. We're going to be leaving them with the car here so the guys can get them fully set up, because it takes, well, a little bit of time, and of course it's the end of the day almost now, but there is something else obviously that we still need to do. So let's go and work this one out. In comes the RS first. There we go, the colour looks much better under the bright lights inside the workshop. Missing out on that, I'm not quite sure where exactly it's going to go, but obviously I'll go grab calipers, see the colour next to the car. Here we have the calipers then, and as you can see, this is a perfect paint match, exactly the same as the car, which is really, really cool to have those. So a big thanks to the guy who sold them to me. Very much looking forward to having them on the car, of course, with the brake fluid that will come from Ford to match exactly with that. But there is something else to talk about. And of course, we have the Dub V12, in quotes, V8 Vantage. We've also got a few other quite nice cars around, but you might just have spotted a certain something here under a cover. That would be my Christmas present. I wonder what it might be. I couldn't possibly say underneath the Dub Customs car cover here, but you can probably work out that we might have a hard time fitting that into the back of the Lusso. probably should have brought the G63, or the alternative is to put it into its box, which will then fit into the G63 if we wanted as well. The box is huge. But yes, my mysterious Christmas present that I think is probably going to be quite appropriate for having some fun with in the future man cave, coming early in 2020, I hope. I'll have to wait and see. It's not quite Christmas yet. I can't possibly have a look at that yet. Now, last year, of course, we revealed my Senna at Christmas. The year before, we revealed my friend Zach's Garage Koenigsegger Gira. This year, let's have a little sneaky peek. Under here, we've got a wheel. What could it possibly belong to? We will wait and see, and I will show you guys what this is like in the future, but I'm very excited. Massive thanks in advance to my girlfriend, probably for thinking of something that I suspect is going to be quite unique when we fully reveal it. Well, for the time being, we're going to jump back on board the Ferrari. Let's just hear it start up very quickly. Oh, we got a cold start. I was not expecting to have a cold start. My girlfriend is going to take the wheel. We will hop on board then. We'll see the guys at Dub again very soon when we come back to see the present, and of course, to see the brake calipers back on the RS. And there are the distinct tail lights of a McLaren 570S. They do look actually really cool. Very, very obvious what car that was that went past us. We are just cruising in the usual rubbish weather on the way back around the M25 to head back in towards central London. We've swapped back round as we've arrived back into London, and it's just wet and gloomy and miserable, which has really been the motto of this winter. I'm sorry, I've bored you guys to death with this now. It is getting very, very, very tedious. We're cruising in wet mode, in automatic on the gearbox, and yeah, the car's just doing its thing, nice and chilled, as we head back into the centre of London. I tell you what though, this car, for a Ferrari with a V12, it is really a car that you can daily use. You can just drive. If you drive it gently, it's pretty fuel efficient as well. You can get 400 miles or so out of the tank. Obviously it's quite a big tank, but then on the other hand, when you do put it down put it up into sport mode, and you've got it on a manual gearbox, you can have a lot of fun with a stonking great V12 that, just to do it quickly, sounds a little bit obviously like this. Some have related it to a dying cat, if you think of the sound like that. But yeah, it's fun. I love Ferrari shift paddles as well. Haven't been driving this car enough. Like I said, I put the winter tyres on it so that we can start using it a little bit more over this winter. Hook up a few more miles. It's on 10,300 or so miles, picked it up on about 4.5, but still there'll be plenty more to come with it in the future. For now though, not too far to go. We'll get back and yeah, that'll be that. Back in the garage then, parked back up, another successful outing in the Ferrari GTC4Lusso. Quite interesting actually to compare how this car stacks up against the AMG G63. Both very powerful, very luxurious, fast, practical, all-wheel drive vehicles, I guess we could say, but they do it in very different ways. The naturally aspirated V12 versus the twin-turbo V8 in a 4x4 off-roader versus a car with a front-bitted mounted V12 that's more like a sports car. Completely different, still very practical. Of course, we decided today not to bring back the new present. I will have to wait and see what that is going to be next week. We will go back to Dub Customs though to pick it up, probably to bring it back in the Heritage RS. Also, one or two other things I'm thinking about. Good to see the guys though, good to see the calipers that are going onto the RS now, just to check over them, make sure they're perfect, make sure they match up with the car exactly, which of course they do, and I'm looking forward to seeing that done, because like I said earlier, that was the one thing from Collection Day. I think probably in the Collection Day video actually, I even spoke about maybe doing that. So it will have the satin black roof, the orange calipers, and we'll leave it there. Of course, being a limited edition, being a 1 of 50 car, I can't go crazy. I don't want to do too many things with it. But there we go. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you for your support. As always, a very Merry Christmas to you all, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.